Before I went down this path of embodying masculine leadership, like the type that I'm going to share with you today, I was super insecure and I was like never confident in my decisions. And I realized this when I was a younger teenager and I was literally playing Minecraft with my friends. And we'd be playing in a survival world. And I was like super insecure in a video game, mind you, like in Minecraft, about every decision I'd make. Like we'd be like playing and I'd be asking my friend like, yo, is it okay if I go and chop some wood? Is it okay if I build this little house right here? Is it okay if I go mining for diamonds? And it got to the point that where like it clicked for me was when he literally just told me like, dude, you don't have to ask for every single little thing that we do. Like just do what you want. And that's when like I realized like how insecure of my own decision making that literally playing Minecraft was showing how incapable I was as a leader. So I went from being that very insecure teenager to now a capable leader that my family members and my friends and even colleagues look up to and depend on. And if you don't know me, my name is Julian. I co-founded the group Men's Group Wellness and Betterment with my friend Anson. We have an online community dedicated to improving men's leadership and wellness. Today, I'm going to share with you how I went from unsure to confident in my decision making. So first, I found that it's really the most important thing is understanding your feelings. Like, what is it that causes you to be scared of making decisions? Because that's the number one thing that's holding people back is fear of making a decision. And so, the most common ones that I often find with people are either fear of failure, fear of what other people are going to say, or something that's formed in their mind, like trauma or like childhood conditioning that causes a behavior that makes them scared to act. And for me, it was mostly like the last part about like childhood conditioning because I was the youngest of four. Well, I still am, but like as a kid, I was the youngest of four boys, and I was kind of like the punching bag, so to say. Like every time I tried to do something, say something, make my own decisions, I was like made fun of or criticized for it. And I don't hold anything against like my family because we were just kids. But like as a young kid going through all that, like just completely destroyed my self-esteem. It just shattered my confidence. And it wasn't until I was like 18 years old when I started just meditating and actually like analyzing my thought and my like behavior patterns. Like why is it that I'm actually acting like this? Like why is it that this fear is holding me back? And that's when I started like connecting the dots and realizing like, oh, like when I was like such a young child, every time I tried to make a decision, I was given like criticism or made fun of for it, and it just like held me back so far. And for some of you, that might be similar. Like it was like maybe your parents, you had bad parenting, or you had also like siblings or young friends when you were younger, like in elementary school, that would constantly like tease you, and you weren't capable or confident in being the leader, so you kind of felt like you were like the little brother, like me, like you were like the little man, and that just completely shattered your confidence. But for some people, some of you guys, it's going to be different. I find that a lot of people, it's mainly that fear of failure. And when I was helping people like with decision making when I was back in military school, I would always ask them like, what is the worst scenario you can think of? Because that usually never happens. Like think of like the absolute worst scenario. When you mess up or make a mistake, it's never going to lead to the worst ever possible scenario. And even when you do fail and you make a mistake and you just lose, it's not, like I said, it's not the worst possible scenario. And it's something you can use as an opportunity for education. That's why I want to share this quote that I learned from one of my leadership classes. It's the windshield is bigger than the rear view for a reason. When you make a decision and you fail and you make a mistake, it's so much worse to just focus on it rather than see the bigger picture, like literally the windshield, and you just go forward. Because when you're obsessing over what's behind you, what's the past, what's the mistakes and the failures, you'll never actually get the confidence to keep going and move forward and learn from your mistakes. And I find that like obsessing over failure, like when people make a mistake, like they're so embarrassed and so humiliated, and it's just like it's for no reason because you can learn from that. That's the learning opportunity. That's education. There's no reason to be obsessing over small mistakes and small failure, even if they're big ones. Like honestly, like I can speak from personal experience. Like the biggest mistakes are actually the most valuable, and the most that you end up being grateful for. And so like that's why I say the windshield's bigger than the rear view, because if you just keep obsessing over every little mistake, you're naturally destroying your self-esteem. It's like no wonder you're not confident in making decisions, because you've already told yourself, well, I've already made this mistake, I've already messed up, I've already screwed up as the leader once, twice, three times. Like, why would I be capable of making decisions? But when you actually get out of the mentality and you feel confident in yourself, and you just evaluate, and you like, and you think to yourself, okay, well, if I made this mistake, what could I like what could have gone worse, and what could I have done to make it better? Obsessing over past mistakes is like the key. I'd say, from the people that I've talked to and just like myself that I've known, when you obsess over your past failures and your past mistakes, it just like destroys you. And that's what's like the biggest factor in fearing failure when it comes to decision making. Okay, but what if your biggest fear in decision making isn't because of like childhood trauma or failure, like the fear of failure? What if it's literally just because you're so terrified of what people might say about you and how other people might react? I'm going to put this in the most simple way, and it's not to like offend you. It's literally just to be the most helpful that I can be, and that's, you're giving other people's opinions about you way too much power, to the point that it's literally controlling your life and you're not even able to make decisions from it. I'm not going to be that type of guy to pretend like, oh, you shouldn't care what other people think. You should absolutely care what other people think. Like, especially as a leader, you need to value what other people think and get feedback so you can improve, so your team can improve, and so you can learn and adapt and be better. But there's a difference in between caring what other people think and valuing what other people think so high that it literally controls your life. If you actually want to be a leader, you have to understand that, like, on many occasions, most occasions, honestly, when you make a decision, especially a major decision, you will get backlash. You will get people who will disagree with you. You will get people that will say mean things about you, and they're gonna insult you literally just because of your decision making, not even because of like your personal identity or your character, but literally because of something you do. You will get insulted and you will be criticized, and they people will try to drag you down. And there's no comfortable way to overcome that except for just doing it and doing it to the point where you get used to it. But it will never escape. Like, if you look at the most famous people and celebrities, like, especially you read a YouTube comment section, and people are literally just putting themselves out there, trying to express themselves, trying to teach other people stuff. And you get people in the comments literally hating they, and honestly, most of the time, almost all the time, they have no reason to. Like, they're nowhere near as like experienced as the people that they're criticizing. But you'll find so many like educational YouTubers, like even like Alex Hermosi, literally a multimillionaire, and people in his comments criticize his decision making and the stuff he says and his advice, when he's literally, I guarantee you, richer than everyone that comments and hates on him. So my overall advice for understanding your feelings and how it like partakes into making decisions, like how are your fears and your brain like acting towards, from like preventing you from making decisions, like what worked for me, and even what I'd help Anson sometimes with this, is like sitting down and like understanding like your fears. Why are you nervous? Like, what is it that the decision you're about to make, what is it about it that's giving you second thoughts? And we'll always have second thoughts and fears and doubts when we make a decision as a leader. But there's a difference between having doubts and second thoughts and being so scared and unsure of yourself and not confident that you don't even go through with it. But like, for me, like I said, the most important thing that I found was sitting down, meditating, and being mindful when those negative thoughts arise. Like, what is it that's controlling my life? Like I said, for me, it was analyzing and sitting and thinking, just like, okay, so it's my childhood conditioning that has really made me unsure and insecure my entire life. And for you, it might be, oh, it's this fear, or this, I value this person's, especially like a lot of people, it's their parents. Like, I value my mom or my dad's opinions too much. For some people, it's even like their friends, where they're like, oh, I just want to fit into this friend group. And if they see me do this and I make this decision, I try to express myself or do whatever, they won't like me or they'll make fun of me. And so it's a really uncomfortable setting that you have to put yourself in. It's a really uncomfortable situation, but it's the most useful, I find, when it comes to understanding your feelings. And this isn't like a leadership lesson that I've learned from like the classroom. I've never found anyone really talk about this in relation to leadership. on the internet. But I think that's what what I've learned firsthand, that this is probably one of the most important things that people don't talk about when it comes to decision making. It's this sitting down and understanding, why am I so scared of what people think? And I guess you can also say like artists think about it too, because it's very hard to be like a social media, either like influencer or YouTuber, a singer, or you know because you're expressing yourself, like even like what I'm doing right now, like being on camera and talking to you, like it's a very not nerve-wracking, but it's an uncomfortable feeling at first, and it takes a lot of getting used to. And that's why I say like a lot of people don't talk about it, except for like in the art world, or like in the social media and content creation world, but nobody really talks about it in relation to leadership, with understanding your discomfort and why, what is it controlling you that's going to stop you from making decisions. The second most important thing that I found helped me in becoming a more confident leader and becoming more confident in my decision making was the decision making matrix. And this is something that I actually did learn in a leadership class. And there's 5 steps to this. So the first step is assessing the situation. The second step is gathering information. The third step is seeking advice. The fourth step is making the decision. And the fifth step is evaluating. Now, I highly recommend that you write all these down. And actually, it's not too complicated to understand. Like, literally just follow the steps. But to put it most simply, it's literally planning and evaluating. And since you can't be a leader without at least having one person that you're leading, talk to that person, get advice from them, ask them questions. Like, even if you know, like, it's a specific topic or skill and you know more than them, it still doesn't even hurt to ask them, like, what do you think about this? Like, how can I improve? How can, or what would you say if I did this? And like I said, not in a way that controls you, but just to get other people's input and advice. Because even like a rant, like it's what I find, it's always the person that you never expect gets you some of the most insightful thoughts or advice on something before you make a decision. So when you have a team, utilize that. People are a resource as a leader. And like literally that's the whole point, is that you're trying to lead other people, you're trying to guide other people, a team or an organization, like a friend, another, even like I said, if just one other person, to a goal, to success. And like those people, if you're trying to help them, most likely they'll tell you their wants and their needs and their strengths, their weaknesses, and how they will help you into making that decision, or even help you, like them personally help you to make the decision, so you don't have to do it alone. And then let's talk about evaluating the decision, which is the last step of the decision making matrix. And I said earlier, failure is one of the greatest resources when you make a mistake when in your decision making to learn from. But also, literally having a completely successful decision is also still very important and helpful to evaluate and learn from. Like I said, with failure you can learn, where did we go wrong, how can we fix it and prevent this from happening next time. But also, when you make a really good decision, you can literally see, oh, so when I did this and when I said this or when I behaved in this manner, this worked really well. And it's literally just as simple as, okay, if I did this one time, how can I do this again? How can I replicate the, like, not even identically replicate, but just get the ideas and the basis for um, repeating that decision. I just shared with you 2 of the most important steps that helped me going from insecure about my decision, like every single decision that I make, to being a confident leader. And if you would like to do the same and you'd like to improve your leadership and your wellness as a man, consider joining Men's Group Wellness and Betterment.